Hello again, everybody. My name is Hendrik, and this is a tutorial about the staging bin determination in the inbound process in SAP EWM. As usual, you can expect a mixture of functional and technical details. I promise you that you've learned something while spending the next 20 minutes with me here, and I also promise, as usual, some details that you will not find in any of the SAP books or the help text, and I also promise some party knowledge that you can take with you to the next event where you gather with other SAP EWM nerds. Let's jump into the topic right away. Staging bin determination in the inbound process, and I will do this in the context of the process-oriented storage control. This is because there are some additional options that you do not have without the POSC, but the staging bin determination as such does not differ from a setup without POSC. So you get just some additional knowledge on top, but for those of you who don't use the POSC, don't switch the video off right away. You will also get all the information that you need if you are not using the storage control here. So what are we going to do? First of all, I start with the differentiation between rules-based and non-rules-based determination, and this is unique for the POSC, but we will then quickly jump into the determination which is independent from the POSC. We take a deep dive into the logic, we will look into the code, we will look at all the details, at everything that you need to know, and at the very end I will close this video as usual with options for you to enhance the standard logic, so to build project or customer-specific logic in here. As I said, we will start looking into the process-oriented storage control, and there is this tiny little flag called rules-based on the right side in the customizing for the process steps, and in the context of the inbound staging bin determination, we are basically looking at the unloading step. So when you execute an unloading step as part of an inbound storage process, the destination of the unloading step is the inbound staging bin. Usually, if you are defining destination bins here, you are talking about the destination of the previous step. For example, if you define a pack step here for the outbound process, then the destination that you give for the pack step here is actually the destination of the previous step, so the picking step. Here it is different. Here we define the destination of the unloading step, which is actually the destination of the unloading step. And this is then the inbound staging bin in this context. So when you want to use the process-oriented storage control, you want to determine the staging bin in the context of the inbound process, you need to configure it for an unloading step. This is important to understand. Apart from that, there is nothing in the system that helps you to understand the rules-based flag. There is a for help included into the system that just says, okay, for those internal steps, you can use rule-based determination. That's not very helpful, so at the end of the day, we need to look into the code again, and that's what we are going to do now with this short deep dive. And we will start with the non-rules-based logic because that's very easy and straightforward, and then we will look at the rules-based one. So we will cover the determination with and without process-oriented storage control, because what we do as part of the rules-based step is the same thing that you would also do if you won't use POSC at all. So the determination without POSC is a subset of the determination with POSC. Important to understand here. So let's look at the non-rules-based one real quick. So this is a scenario where you have not set this flag here, and that's pretty easy. The destination of the unloading step, so the inbound staging bin, while using the process-oriented storage control without the rules-based option, is the one that you provide here in the storage process step itself. So this is the unloading step. The source is a door in this example here. The destination is the staging bin. That's pretty easy. So let's look at the rules-based option. And this is triggered again, you might have seen some other videos from my channel about the process-oriented storage control and its rules-based determination logic. And this is all being triggered in this one function module, SCWM storage control pget. This evaluates the rules-based logic for the different kind of process steps. And in this context here, we are talking about the unloading step. And in this context, when we want to make a rules-based determination, EWM or this function module calls then function module SCWM get staging area int. And here we see the first thing that's happening is that we read from the HU. I remember we are talking about process-oriented storage control, so we always have an HU. And we read the HU items and the references to the warehouse request items. And then from those warehouse request items that we get based on the HU items, we get the staging data which has been determined for the delivery items way earlier. So the delivery was created at some point, the staging area, so the type area, this type section and bin was determined, and then sometime later the process-oriented storage control becomes active when you process the HUs one by one. So we are simply reading it from the delivery item. So the question is now, where is this data coming from? And now we are looking at the part which is 100% independent from the process-oriented storage control. So the determination that happened before. And this is happening here in a class AFSRConfig, and then this very long method, which I won't read out here, calling at the end the method determine staging area imp out of class SCWM CLAFSRConfig. So this method determines the staging bin on inbound delivery item level independent from the usage of the POSC. And the POSC just reads it later from the item. Important to understand. So how does this method then determine the bin? And here it becomes straightforward, and here we are exactly there where you probably thought we would end up. And this is the application data, so the records from the staging area determination table and the records from the staging area access sequence. And then we combine both. So you might have seen that here in the easy access menu, we have this start@in transaction where you maintain records for staging area determination in the inbound process. Now you have these key fields here, and then on the right side, the staging area group, which is the storage type, the staging area is a section, and the staging bay, which is a bin. And in addition to this, EWM reads the access sequence. So that basically tells us, and we are looking only at the direction for inbound, which of those fields that you saw before in the other table, this one's here, and also the door, which we will learn later, which of those is relevant for the determination. So whenever you flag one of those columns here, that means that EWM will compare the data of the respective inbound delivery item with the records that you have maintained here, trying to find one that matches. That's happening in the method that I mentioned before, determine staging area imp. So it reads then the data from the table that I showed you based on the access sequence that I showed you, and returns the result then to method select star ria det. Before we now proceed looking at how this data is then being processed, just some party knowledge as promised. It might be a pretty nerdy party actually, but party knowledge in this context is something that you will not find somewhere else. And I just noticed it while looking into the code that not all of the fields from the access sequence are actually relevant for the inbound process. I marked them for you in green. So all the ones which are marked in red here are only used for the outbound process. On the outbound side, you also have staging area determination logic. So For the inbound process, only the ones marked in green are relevant. And something else I noticed, which is quite interesting, even if you set the flag for the door in every record of the access sequence, EWM will still, at the very end, try to find a staging area record, so a record in the table that I showed you, a record in this table here, without any value in the door field, even though you flag it in all records of the access sequence. Yeah, that's what you see here. At first, EWM tries to read with the door from the given inbound delivery item, respectively TU. We will come to this later. And even if here this flag in the access sequence is not set, it will just try to read it without later. This is not true for all the other fields. So if you, for example, set the carrier here, flag it in all the records of the access sequence, then it will for sure always compare the carrier from the delivery or from the TU with the staging area determination records. And if there is no that matches, then you won't determine the staging area bin. For the door, it's different. Yeah, even if no record matches, at the end it will try to read without the door. Yeah. I found that and I thought that would be interesting because I couldn't find this information anywhere else. Good. So we are done. That was pretty simple actually. So we know now where the data is coming from. So we know now how the data for the delivery item is being determined. Yeah, and so we can now come back to the process-oriented storage control and the function module that started the determination process. Yeah, this get staging area int. You remember that was called from the main POSC function module to determine rules-based destination data. And now we end up at the point where EWM try to get the staging bin data from the delivery data, from delivery item data, returned to the process-oriented storage control. And now we either have a bin or, and that's what we are going to look into next, we couldn't find anything in the delivery item. So no staging bin data in the inbound delivery item. And before EWM throws an error now, we have an additional option that you would not have without the usage of the process-oriented storage control here. And this is being called right after the attempt to read the data from the delivery item. And here EWM tries to get the staging area from the TU. And this is a bit misleading because we are not directly getting it from the TU, we are getting it based on the TU. And this is happening here in method get DLV door by TU from class SCWM CLSR my service. So how does it work? We have to jump into this method to figure it out. You see this method has only two callers, the synchronization between TU and delivery, and the warehouse task creation for the staging area, which in case it is not available in the delivery item. So let's explore this method. And the first thing that's happening here, and that's where it differentiates itself from the access based on the delivery item, it reads a door, and it reads the door from the TU. Now, you might know that you can assign multiple doors to a TU, and along with the door, you can assign the planned times for start and the end of the unloading process for the door. And the TU itself has a planned start and a planned end for the unloading process, and the same is true for the door. Door also has a planned start and the end. And EWM then reads the door assignment to the TU, which are matching the planned times for the start or the end of the unloading process. Yeah, so the door assignment should not start after the planned end of the unloading, and it should not end before the planned start of the unloading process. Yeah, so basically only the doors which are assigned and where the planned time window matches the planned unloading time window for the TU. Only those are being considered, and if EWM finds exactly one matching records, then it again triggers the staging area determination via the method stage area det in. Yeah? And in this method, we are calling one more, which is get stated in from class SEWM CLSR config. And within this method, we are exactly doing the same thing that we saw before for the initial staging bin determination for the delivery item. Now you see it here. We at first read the staging area determination records from the stated in table, and then we read the access sequence, and then we try to select a record from the staging area determination table based on the access sequences, and this time considering the data from the TU, including the door that we determined before. And you saw this in this determination table on the very right side. There's also a column for the door. So including the door that we got from the TU, we will now try to find a matching record here. That's kind of unique. At the end of the day, if we found something there, this is being returned, handed over again to the function module get staging area int. That is the one that at first called the data from at first tried to read the data from the delivery item, then try to determine it based on the TU. If it could not find it on the delivery item, then hands it over back to function module SCWM storage control get. This is the one that should be well known by now, which is doing the rules-based determination of the destination from the POSC. And this is then handing over the data, writing it into the local variables for destination, storage type, section, and bin. And this is then being processed and used for the warehouse task for the HU, which is being unloaded. And that's it. That's the whole logic in the context of the POSC, but I think you understood that the core, the logic that I explained in the context of the determination for the delivery item as such does not differ whether you use the POSC or not. Before I wrap up, just some quick options to enhance the logic here. There is body SEWM XSR stay det, which you can use for the staging bin determination for inbound delivery items or based on the TU data. So this is called at two places. First for the method that I showed you before in class AFSR config, and then the second option is at the end of method stage area det in, so after the standard determination based on the TU has been processed. So two places where you can jump in and manipulate the staging area determination as such. And then, of course, there is body SCWM X core PSC process, which you should also know if you watched the other videos about the destination bin determination for process-oriented storage control steps. And with this body, you can, at the end of the function module storage control pget, so independent from the process step that you are currently executing, you can implement your own logic at the end of the function module to override the destination bin for the given step. So these are the two options that you have here. And this is also with what I would like to close this video. As a summary, maybe just a quick wrap up. You should have a good understanding now about the destination bin determination for the unloading step. So in the context of the process-oriented storage control, the unloading step has a staging bin as the destination. You can do this without the process-oriented storage control, then you do not have an unloading step. You just determine the data for the delivery item. But with the process-oriented storage control, you have the non-rules-based option. The destination must be given in the step of the process-oriented storage control. And then you have the rules-based one, where the destination must be determined based on the determination table. You saw this table with the records for the inbound process and then along with the access sequence, and you can determine this either based on the delivery, or if you're using TUs and you have door assignments to the TU, you can also determine it based on the TU. And last but not least, it's important to understand that it's not possible to skip this rules-based step here. So even though you flag it as rules-based, that only means that the determination of the destination is rules-based. And if you don't find anything, you would rather get an error message instead of just skipping the unloading step. That's not possible. As this is possible for some of the steps in the POSC, but not for the unloading step. That's it. That's what I wanted to explain to you with this video. I hope you could learn something. I hope you're looking forward to the next video and would like to be notified. In this case, please subscribe to my channel. That also motivates me to create additional videos. And with this, I wish you happy learning, and I hope to see you again here with the next video. Thanks and goodbye.